Welcome to That's Not Cinema, a movie podcast, a reason to talk about movies. I'm your host, Jeffrey Hemingway. Today's movie is Joker. Take it away, Marty.
Of a film that's like a theme park film, for example, the Marvel type pictures, where the theaters become amusement parks. That's a different experience. And it's not even, I was saying earlier, it's not cinema, it's something else. Not cinema, it's something else. Not cinema, it's something else. Not cinema, it's something else.
All right, let's dive into some info here. Directed by Todd Phillips, written by Todd Phillips and Scott Silver, starring the one and only Joaquin Phoenix. A runtime of 122 minutes. It was released in theaters October 4th, 2019, and digital and streaming December 17th, 2019. Studio brought to you by Warner Brothers, and a reported budget of $55 million. And a box office of $1 billion. It's a comic book movie, so you know how that goes. And the Rotten Tomatoes score, which means everything and nothing all at the very same time. The critics rated it a 68%, and the audience rated it an 88%. Usually this is when I would say catch up critics, but I kind of agree. But I still love this movie, even though I agree with the 68%. Let's get into the summary, shall we? In Gotham City, mentally troubled comedian Arthur Fleck is disregarded and mistreated by society. He then embarks on a downward spiral of revolution and bloody crime. This path brings him face to face with his alter ego, the Joker. Okay, what were my expectations headed into Joker? My expectations were pretty tempered, honestly. I was expecting a wonderful performance from Joaquin Phoenix at the very least, but I didn't know how to trust the script and direction from someone like Todd Phillips. And not to discredit any of Todd Phillips' movies. Like, I love, well, at least the first Hangover. The second and the third got a little out of whack, but make that money. So I love the first Hangover, and then I enjoyed War Dogs. I didn't think it was a perfect movie, but I enjoyed it. So I was a little seeing him go from that type of tone to now having to go to and I won't make this comparison for the first time, a King of Comedy, Taxi Driver-esque type tone, was a little worrying for me. I didn't know, how well Phillips would handle it, and then, Phillips taking on a comic book movie with an iconic character at that, like, that's like, obviously we've been inundated with the comic book genre, and which is to my delight, but I understand a lot of people may not like that so much, but let's just say I wasn't so gung-ho with Todd Phillips at the helm, though I was excited for Joaquin giving us a great performance. But I always came back to just that, Joaquin giving us a great performance, And so with all that being said, right, the talk about Joker was pretty prevalent about what it meant and what it was trying to say before the movie had even released. But all that did was make me want to see it for myself and see it as soon as possible. Because you'd think it would, like, kind of, if I went in tempered and in hearing all the talk around it, all the media around it, all the hysteria that came with it of, oh, the Joker and it's dangerous for society, with, like, all that stuff. Like, honestly, it made me like, okay, like, it's kind of one of those things, like, at least they're talking about something. And they, you know what I mean? It could be an irrelevant movie and they could not talk about it at all. So, like, the fact that people and critics and it's becoming such a hot topic that people want to even just have conversations about it before it's even released in theaters was like, okay, all right, now I got to see it, and then I definitely have to see it for myself. So that was really the bigger thing for me, and that raised my, I wouldn't say raised my expectations, but it raised my immediacy, I guess, to want to see it as soon as possible. So as far as expectations were, that's what those were. So with that being the case, as far as setting the scene is concerned, I saw this movie not the opening day, but the prior day. So usually like the Thursday when they usually let it out early. And then Friday's like the official day or whatever. But so I saw it the Thursday, like right after work. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go now. Cause basically it would have taken me probably like a couple of days before I went and saw it. And I was like, it's dropping tonight. I'm going to clock out. I'm just going to go see it. Like, just get it out of the way. Just not that I like wasn't excited to see it, but just like, let me get it in now. So that was my idea. And I went to it. I didn't go to my usual theater, and I bypassed my chicken tenders and my icy. And I, went to a Regal. I usually don't go to Regals because I don't like their recliners, but I went to a Regal and sat back, and it was not a packed theater. There were probably it was more packed than I expected, but I'd say there were probably about 15 people, including me, inside the theater. So, I was expecting, it was probably it was like an 11 o'clock showing. So I wasn't expecting it to be too packed, but it had a good amount of people in there. So that was something I was not expecting too much, but I had to see it opening night, and I just had to get there, and I'm actually pretty glad I did. So as soon as I got out the theater, sat in my car, let it ruminate in my head a bit, and let the thoughts kind of come to my brain. And then I obviously, shut off my tweet. And then my tweet review was, Joker is a disturbingly magnificent slow burn, and I loved every single second of it. Joaquin Phoenix was masterful. And like, honestly, just that, like, Joaquin Phoenix was masterful. Did I think it was a perfect film? Obviously getting into my overall thoughts here. No, but Joaquin was so good. It made me overlook a lot of what I didn't like about it, because he was just so captivating, right? My biggest takeaway from Joker was his performance, and also how amazing the score was. That was the other thing. The score was on another level, right? Like, I enjoyed every single second of watching Joaquin just kind of navigate through this film, and then it was just aided by this terrific score by, and I'm going to botch her name, but Hildur Gudenter, I think that's how I say that. But she was phenomenal with the score. She put in some work, man. I love it. It was just creepy and eerie and just kind of longing, and you would kind of sit in some scenes, and then the score would kind of just kind of bask around it. It was amazing. But, this movie is it's kind of like a slow train wreck in the best way possible. Like, you just can't take your eyes off of it, no matter how uncomfortable it makes you feel. And the score just added to that mood of the film overall. It was such an experience to see in the theater. And it probably helped that it was not such a packed theater, because usually you get the murmurs and you get the people starting to talk, and certain scenes come up, and people, when you're in a packed theater, it can kind of almost take away from the ambiance, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But like, with it being not so full and just being a few, and you hear like a few smatterings of people talking and whatnot, and it's just kind of, it almost, it's the feeling that I love. Like, you almost feel like you're in the theater by yourself, but it's like, because the mood was so kind of eerie and weird and uncomfortable, it was like, oh, ew. It's like, oh man. And the score was just adding to it. And so, like, shout out to Hildur, because she did her job. Like, Hildur and Joaquin just carried the entire film, just the entire thing. And because of that, I love this movie, and it was my number 9 of 2019. So with that all out of the way, now we can get to the best moments. So my 2 runner-ups and then my answer. So my first runner-up is probably one that would be a number 1 for a lot of people, and it's been memed to death. If you're on social media at all, you've seen it countless times. But it's Joker descending down the stairs, right? And it's not just him descending down the stairs. It's a combination of him kind of, as soon as he walks out of that hallway, walks into the hallway out of his apartment, and then you see him for the first time in full garb, in full Joker garb, and he's walking there, and the music's playing, and then he gets to the stairs, and then he just starts to break out into this dance as he's descending down, right? And obviously it's a whole metaphor for he's descending down into chaos, but he loves it, and it's probably the most he's ever felt like himself and the most confident he's ever felt. Just being a person that was just not so loved by society, just and mistreated by society, as the summary said. And it was just such a great moment, because it's weird to say it's like a great moment because he's about to go and murder a bunch of people, but it's for, I guess, for the character, because you feel some empathy for the character and just the way he's been treated in the situations he's been in, and the shitty hand at life that he was dealt. You do feel some empathy for him. Now, obviously, does it stretch to the point to where it's okay for him to start killing people? Hell no. Right. But it's like, but again, you do feel that empathy for the character in that sense. But I just love the kind of descent into madness, that the scene kind of represented, and so that was the runner up for my best moment. Not my best, but runner up for it. And then second runner up was towards the end of the movie. And it's actually the moment where Joker is standing on top of the police car, and then he wipes the blood smile on his face, right? And that's almost like, it's kind of similar to my first runner-up, right? Where it's like, it's a commentary on the transformation. And that's almost like the complete transformation of the Joker once he wipes the blood smile onto his face. And it's a moment where it's, where people never paid attention to him. And then in this final moment, everyone's paying attention to him. Not only are they paying attention to him, they're there for him. They're rooting for him. They're cheering for him. It finally feels like society is on his side, or at least he's made a dent and gathered this group that is, kind of piggybacked on what he's kind of brought, to the world, the chaos he's kind of brought to the world. And in actuality, he kind of piggybacked on them. And then obviously he sprung up, and, the cream rises to the top. So that was my second runner up, is Joker wiping the blood smile. And it's just kind of an iconic kind of picture when you look at it and you see that smile and in the many iterations of Joker, whether it be the comic books or the animation or Heath Ledger, obviously, or Jack Nicholson, the smile is iconic, and it's usually done with red lipstick, or in Heath Ledger's aspect, I think it might have been red lipstick for Heath Ledger, or it might have been blood. It looked like a combination of the two for Ledger's character, but it was like but I like that it set its own tone, and it's just a really cool shot, honestly. So I had to have it for runner up for best moment. And my answer for the best moment for me, and again, this is obviously, I'm following a theme here. All of these are kind of catering to his transformation from Arthur to Joker. And my answer for my best moment is the moment when Arthur dances in the bathroom, right? And then obviously this extends from when he kills those assholes on the train. And yeah, were they assholes? Of course. Did they deserve to get killed? No. But in that moment, he has this condition, and he's laughing, and they're, sitting there and fucking making fun of it and everything. And he kind of just, defends himself. Usually he kind of lets people kind of walk all over him. And in this instance, he didn't. He just wasn't going to have it. He had enough, essentially. And he pulls out the gun, and he shoots, and he kills him. And he kind of likes it, and he kind of loves it, but he's also scared of it at the same time that it just happened. And so he runs away, and then he runs into the bathroom, and props to the cinematographer on this one, because the green lighting situation within this. And then you add in, here comes Hildur again with that amazing score, and then Joaquin with the performance. And he just starts to dance, and he just starts to kind of feel himself. And that's like those first inklings of the Joker peeking out or coming into himself, and kind of setting Arthur aside and just kind of feeling himself, just kind of, I don't even know how to describe the dancing, but it's like sensual, but like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was was great. Like, honestly, it was great, and it was creepy, and it was like, what the fuck? But it was like also like, man, he's kind of coming into his own here. And that was like those first inklings again. So like all my best moments, circled around his transformations, and from his descending into madness, his complete descending into madness, from coming down the stairs and dancing to the final moment where he, gets the blood smile on his face, and then the beginnings of it where he dances in that bathroom, backed by that brilliant score. And that was just, I was like, okay, we're about to go there. You know what I mean? It's like, and then Joaquin is just giving it to us at this moment. Like, you're like, oh boy, this is it. Like, this is it, man. Like he had just, and the way he plays it too, it's subtle. It's not full on, just like, it's not the same white dancing that you get, when he's coming down the stairs. He's kind of feeling it out a bit almost. And it's kind of like, oh, it's almost like, what's this? What's this? It's like, oh, I kind of like this. And then he just kind of starts to come into his own and starts to feel himself. And then obviously, again, I keep mentioning it, but that brilliant score backing him up was just awesome. So now to my favorite scenes. First runner up is, I think it's the Gotham hospital that he goes to, or is it Arkham? I think it's Arkham. It might be Arkham. I can't remember whether it was like a Gotham hospital or whether it said Arkham. I think it may have said Arkham, to kind of pay tribute to the Arkham Asylum of the comics, of course. And so Arthur goes in and steals the document and reads the truth about what happened to him as a child, or at least what's in, whether he believes it or not is a whole other thing. But he has that conversation with Thomas Wayne in the bathroom at the gala or some sort of whatever it was, the fundraiser. And then he goes to the hospital or to Arkham to see if this is true. Like, why are you lying to me? My mom wouldn't have done that to me. What are you talking about? So he goes to the hospital.
I'm sorry, man. Like I said, I can't release these records, without proper forms. I could get in trouble. Look, if you want to bring your mom in here to sign, that'll be much easier, but I can't let this go without her signature, okay? I'm sorry. No, man! Hey, come on, man!
And shout out to Brian Tyree Henry, because he's just an amazing actor. And he was great in this scene. Shout out to him. Yeah, but so that moment between those two, and it's just Brian is kind of looking at him like, "Are you okay, dude?" Like, clearly, like, he's just a little off. And then he has that moment where he smiles and he's like, "What?" It's like, he's just so fucking creepy. But yeah. So he gets the documents. He didn't just get them. He steals them because he realizes he can't hand them over, and Arthur just kind of puts his hand through the cage and just grabs him and just starts to run, and then he finds himself in the stairwell, and he starts to just read what was reported on his mom and what she was diagnosed with, and it's corroborating with everything Thomas Wayne was telling him in the bathroom, that she's crazy. And obviously that's something he had always heard his whole life about himself, and he hated hearing that, and obviously didn't want to hear that about his mom. But then actually reading what had happened, and then what happened to the child that was in the care of his mom at the time, which was obviously him, and finding out that he was abused as a child, and it's kind of like one of those moments where you like it's one of the things people don't ever like to hear about themselves. Like, it's always a tense moment when someone has to kind of tell you about yourself, has to dress you down in a sense. And he's almost getting that in document form, and it's like, oh, this is, wow. So not only did I believe I've got a shitty hand throughout life, this is proof I had a shitty hand throughout life, and it was just, obviously his reaction and his kind of disbelief in it, but clearly he believes it because he's reacting the way he's reacting. And it's just another brilliant performance by Joaquin here, and yeah, so that was runner up for favorite scene. The smaller scene, but I loved it nonetheless. And then my second runner up for favorite scene, which would probably be a lot of people's first runner up for favorite scene, is when Arthur kills Murray.
I'll tell you what you get. The police. Get what you fucking deserve.
And for me, I did love this scene. Obviously, it's second runner up for my favorite scenes. It's just not first for me because I liked another kill he did a little better, but we'll get to that. But this moment's great with De Niro and Joaquin and the whole kind of charade of the whole thing, right? The walking out into the crowd, which calls back to moments in his apartment where he would practice how he would walk out and how he would act and how he would react to the guest and react to Murray, and it's just a great moment because obviously as the conversation is going and as the interview is going, you could see the gears starting to move in his head, and he starts to realize like he's not coming out here to tell jokes, he is the joke, right? And that he didn't like, and it's like it's very similar to the train scene where he shoots those Wall Street kids, they were grown men. He shoots those Wall Street guys like he had enough, right? And obviously the whole plan was for him to go out and blow his own brains out, because none of you people care. So what does it matter? I'll blow my own brains out in front of all of you. And then Murray keeps talking, and Murray keeps talking shit, and again, you could see the gears start to move in Arthur's head, and it's like, well, instead of killing me, how about I just kill this motherfucker? Because it's actually you that's been making me feel this way. I thought I liked you. I thought you liked me. I thought I finally had someone I could depend on and someone who wanted to actually help me out. I looked up to you. You were a father figure in this life that I didn't have a father figure in a sense, through the TV screen. And instead of me coming out and telling the jokes, I am the joke. And you're making me the joke. So, and obviously he goes into his big spiel of which we'll get into in later lines, but you want to hear another joke, Murray? And again, Joaquin just with and during this whole moment, you just can't take your eyes off him. Like the entire time, you're just like, what the fuck is he gonna do, right? And so this was a little spoiled for me, only in the sense that I'm an avid comic book reader. And I've read The Dark Knight Returns, and there's a similar scene where Joker goes on a talk show and then kills the host. Well, not only kills the host, he kills all the audience too. But in this one, he just kills the host. So I had a feeling that's what was going to happen. But credit to Joaquin and even credit to the script in this moment, where it's like it was still, you almost didn't quite know what he was going to do, but then you start to see again those gears in his head start to turn, and it kind of, you start to know what's about to happen. So yeah, so that's second runner up for favorite scene. And so first runner up, as I mentioned a little earlier, was actually when Arthur kills Randall in his apartment.
Anyway, Hoyt said that they talked to you and now they're looking for me, and I just want to know what you said. Make sure our stories line up, seeing as how you're my boy, and
that makes a lot of sense.
You know what I mean?
Thank you, Randall. Thank you so much.
I just want to.
And I liked this one so much because it was his first. So the kills on the train were more out of self-defense and he was just scared, whereas the kill to Randall and Murray were. Well, actually, no. The kill to Murray wasn't as premeditated as the kill to Randall. The kill to Randall was his first like premeditated kill, and that was like, okay, he's going there. He's going there, right? And it's weird, right? Because it's like you don't feel too bad for Randall because he's kind of a piece of shit too. And again, just because you're a piece of shit, does that mean you deserve to die? No. But in the context of the movie, yeah, he kind of had it coming, right? You know, he framed him and lost him his job, and he added to the bad hand that Arthur had already had. All he did was just make it worse. And so he kind of had that coming. But I guess why it was my favorite is it's everything in it, right? It's the abruptness of it. Because again, it's kind of another one of those moments where you almost didn't know if that was the plan, but then it turned out to be clearly the plan. Obviously, and then he has I forgot his name. Is he Gary? I'm not sure what his name was, but he has the little person there as well, and he's witnessing this brutal murder, and he's just scared shitless. This is a great performance by him as well. And obviously it continues on to the moment which is probably the funniest moment in the whole entire movie, is, you know, he tells him, you know, I'm not going to hurt you because you've always been good to me. You've seen me and talked to me like an actual person, you know. And then so he lets him go. He tells him he can go and he can leave, and then obviously he's too little to, you know, open the door because it's chained up top, and then Arthur has to come in and unlock it. And after killing Randall, at that moment, you felt like he was just going to kill, I think his name is Gary. I'm just going to say Gary, just because I don't know. I don't actually know the name. But you think he's going to kill Gary too, right? Like I don't know. He just fucking killed a guy. Like, the guy's he's clearly fucking lost it. And so, like, man, this, like, and it was weird because, like, you almost shouldn't be laughing because, like, but it's almost like a weird tense laugh because you're like, this is funny. It's not going to be so funny if he then turns around and kills this guy, right? And so, but honestly, one of the more funnier moments in the movie, which is why it was my favorite scene, you know, because his favorite scenes, not best scenes. So you probably argue the Murray scene may have been better, but for what was my favorite, it was this moment in killing Randall and then letting Gary out of the apartment and then not killing him. That was the other thing. That was the also other surprise too. I mean, because he is so unpredictable. So it was a little. Any other time they probably would have just killed Gary too, I think, and even in other incarnations of the Joker, probably would have killed Gary as well. But because he had actually was one of the few people who saw him as a person, he let him go, you know. But it was still tense in that moment where you didn't know whether he was going to kill him or not. But that, you know, that all that encompassing made it, you know, one of my favorite scenes for sure. Okay, so now to favorite lines. And my runner-up for favorite line is from Arthur himself. And it's actually when he was at the Murray show. And it's obviously it's from the moment where he shoots Murray in the fucking face. Like, straight up. It's a great line. I don't love all the dialogue, but obviously he you know, he goes into Murray, you want to hear another joke? And then he tells him,
how about another joke, Murray?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and beats him like trash!
Call the police,
I'll tell you what you get!
Call the police.
Get what you fucking deserve!
And it was just, I think what I loved about it most was that it just kind of, you know, it was a little too on the nose, but it, you know, it was hammer, meat, nail, and it just fit, you know, and it was just like, okay, boom, shot in the face, and it was just kind of like, yeah, he's fully snapped, like it's a wrap. Like, obviously with, you know, the killings earlier, he'd done anything, but at this point it was like, I'm thinking in the moment, this is just spontaneous, and I was killing me, and now I'm killing you, just because that's how I'm feeling, and so obviously that whole kind of speech kind of led to it and added to it, and I like the moment. I really do. I don't love everything about it, but I like the speech and I like the moment. So that's my first runner up for favorite line. And my second runner up for favorite line is the moment where he Arthur at this point ends up having these meetings with a social worker, and it's to get his medicine so he can stay sane, and just kind of talk through and have someone to talk to, because at this point during the movie, clearly he doesn't have true genuine conversations with his mom, because obviously she's suffering from mental illness as well. So you get two people suffering from the same thing, and then, the lack of communication there. So it gives him someone else to talk to. And then once he gets there, he realizes, or he comes to the understanding that he won't be able to get any more meds because they just cut them off. The city, the governings of Gotham just cut them off, and she ends up saying to him,
"They don't give a shit about people like you, Arthur. And they really don't give a shit about people like me either."
What I loved about that line was it's just so apropos. You know what I mean? To obviously this is to an extreme measure, but then again, really not to an extreme measure. There's examples in our reality that we can see that very much relate to those words and speak so true. Like you look to these hiring bodies of power within our world and think they supposed to care about the people, and maybe this is a very cynical view that I'm projecting, but I mean, in all honesty, it is just what it is, right? It's like, it's almost, in a sense, it's kind of why we as people have to take care of each other, but we don't, because we're people and we're human and we're all pieces of shit in a sense. But yeah, again, very cynical. But it just really spoke to kind of something that I've really agree with, and right, like they don't give a shit about people like you, and then they don't give a shit about people like her. So it's not even like on her. She's not purposely trying to be a bad guy in that situation. This is just what it is, unfortunately. And as much as I want to help you, my hands are tied because they don't give a fuck about me. And then which ties your hands because they don't give a fuck about you. And then now you get to go around and this is what becomes of you. Now you get to become the Joker, essentially. So, but I really, because I thought it was very telling to reality, So I like that line a lot. So I really like that line a lot. And then my favorite line, which actually wasn't a spoken line, and you saw it in the trailer, and obviously you saw it in the film, but it's when Arthur's writing in his notebook, and then there's a part in it where he writes, "The worst part of having a mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't." Right? And personally, I don't suffer from a mental illness. At least that I know of. It's just another one, just as like with the social worker. It's another one that was just so very true, and it's like, you have people who unfortunately suffer with these mental illnesses, and society is saying act normal, be normal, and it's like, all right, but I'm like not normal. Like it's out of my control to be quote unquote normal, So it's again just another one of those lines that kind of just spoke true to reality, and it kind of gave an opening to how, I guess, a person with mental illness thinks of when society is around and they're saying, "Hey, be normal." Hey, don't be so crazy. And it's like, well, I don't have really control over this. You know what I mean? Like our brain, the chemicals in our brain are the chemicals in our brain, and you don't have any control over that. So like the most you can do is try and help yourself and try and, get as much help as you can to try and be able to cope and operate through life, but it's like, I could see how that could be so frustrating. It's like, for, you know what I mean? Like you're almost being hit over the head to be quote unquote normal. And it's like, I don't have any control over this. Like I can't, I'm trying, and you know what I mean? But I don't have any control over this. I can't control the chemicals that are in my brain. You know what I mean? I can't control what connects and what reacts and what does what. And like, that's not like, I didn't have any choice in that, you know? So for that, I really liked that. And that was my favorite line, even though it was an unspoken line in the movie, but that was my favorite line in the movie. And so as far as favorite performance, I mean, man, this is tough. This is a tough one to sift through and decide through, and it's Joaquin Phoenix. It's the very obvious answer is Joaquin Phoenix. He carries the entire movie, even though he's doing what I'd call the most acting. Like, it's not the most subtle acting, but regardless, it was so much fun watching him, and you just couldn't take your eyes off of him. He captivated you. He captivated me anyway. The entire film, like the entire time, it's just like I just couldn't. You were just fixated on him, and anything and everything from the little movements to the smiles to the laughs to the differentiating between the laughs. Like when he was from the laugh of just from his condition, you felt the pain and it felt like it hurt for him to laugh. To then when you're in, say, the comedy club and he's trying to laugh to fit in, and that laugh's a little bit more of a high pitched laugh, and it's awkward and the timing is off, and he kind of just, the jokes don't like kind of work, like, or they don't hit when they're supposed to hit, you know, as they hit for everyone else, as they hit for Arthur. So even that little subtle thing there, that's just a small thing, of the many things he's done in this movie. But I really appreciated that. Just like from one laugh, that's just from his condition of the pain you can feel. You can physically see the pain he's in to laugh. From obviously, again, when you're in the comedy store with him and the other comedians are up on stage and he's trying to, the crowd, the audience starts to laugh and he's trying to fit in. So he gives his off-timed, off-kiltered laugh, high-pitched, and it's just like, oh, you know. So yeah, but that was, he's just amazing. Like Joaquin's one of those actors, man, where honestly, regardless of what he's in, I want to see it. Like, that's just what it is. I want to see it. But I want to give another shout out to Hildur as far as like favorite performances. Her performance of the score, the score itself is almost, it's so cliche to say, but the score itself is a character in the movie, but it is, you know what I mean? Like if not a character itself in the movie, it's definitely, it adds to Arthur's character within the movie and the transition from Arthur to Joker, and it helps. Like, again, those two, Joaquin's performance and Hildur's score is just it's like peanut butter and jelly how well they work together. And it was just so perfect, and it aided and helped this movie so much, and it's those two are the largest reasons to why I honestly, legitimately love this movie. So, all right, as of course, with all of the positives and all the praise that comes with it, there are some negatives, and again, as much as I love this movie, I did have some things I didn't like about this movie. So, my least favorite part of this film is the script. I felt like the script holds your hand in certain moments that just were not necessary. It's like trust your fucking audience, man. It could just be me. I don't know, but it was fairly obvious that most of the machinations occurring were happening in his head. And the fact that Todd Phillips felt like he had to walk the audience back through via flashbacks as if to say, hey, just in case you didn't get it, it's all in his head. It's like, we got it, Todd, we got it. Like, you know what I mean? And again, maybe not everybody felt that way, but as I was watching it, I was like, okay, yeah, clearly he's fantasizing most of this, you know, and most of this shit just isn't happening. But to literally have to walk us back through in like flashback, she wasn't really there. Flashback, she wasn't really there. And I'm just like, really? It's like we got it, man. Like, let's keep this movie moving. You know what I mean? We're in a forward trajectory, and now we're kind of stagnant right now. You know what I mean? Because you felt the need, like you had to explain to us what we had just saw. Like, I just saw it. Like, I got it, Todd. I got it, man. So, you know, but that's But that's it. Even with that, even with the script not being the greatest, I mean, when you have a brilliant actor, that's probably one of the best things actors do is that they can make they can perform from a bad, and it's not a totally bad script. It's just as far as like the story construction there, it just didn't feel like it. Personally, I didn't feel like that was necessary. I didn't feel like I needed my hand to be held as I was watching this. Like, I feel like in those instances, you gotta trust your audience. You know, I think you gotta trust your audience there. So I I don't like my hand held when I'm watching movies. Like you don't have to do that for me personally. But again, I'm just one person. I'm not the masses, and this movie made $1 billion and it's a fucking success. So who the fuck am I? What the fuck do I know, right? But yeah. So as far as who won the movie, again, I think this answer is as obvious as the best performance in the movie, and it's Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix won the movie for turning out such an awesome performance. And I mean, awesome in every sense of the word. Like the awe. Like I was in awe watching him, you know, like just in awe watching him work. He carries the entire film along with a gorgeous score by Hildur Gudenter. I'm sorry if I'm botching that name. But I just want to give her all the praise because she man, the score is amazing. I was, I was just in awe watching Joaquin, and he totally made the character his own. And I think really was able to honor his friend in Heath by giving such a unique, performance. Again, there's been so many iterations of the character, and then obviously most famed by Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, who did a terrific job. But that's kind of the thing about the character of the Joker, right? Especially like coming from me being a comic book fan and coming from that perspective of it. There's always been so many multiple iterations of the Joker. There's the anarchist and the mobster and the clown prince of crime and the psychopath, you know. And so though we have so many Jokers from Jack Nicholson to Heath Ledger to Joaquin Phoenix to Mark Hamill in the animation, you know what I mean, to the comics, for him to be able to kind of plant his flag and stake his own claim and make it truly his own character, I think just that alone won the movie, right? And for me, man, Joaquin, he's been one of my favorite actors since I was 9 years old, watching him in Gladiator. That was the first time I'd seen Joaquin Phoenix was in Gladiator, and he continues to be one of my favorites to watch, if not my favorite. Like I haven't really broken down my top actors to watch, but man, he is definitely one of them for sure. You know, at this point, all I know is if Joaquin Phoenix is in it, I'm purchasing a ticket. You know, that was no different here. In fact, it was more than justified with his performance. Like I think, and just from the trailer, I was like, yep, Joaquin's gonna kill it. and that was enough for me. It was a great trailer, but like it could have been a terrible trailer, but from what they were able to show from Joaquin, I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna murder this role, and that's worth the price alone. Like just simply worth the price alone. Now to the namesake of the podcast, the last question we ask on every podcast: that's cinema or that's not cinema? So, Joker. That's cinema. Very clearly, that is cinema. And I this one's a weird one. We've actually heard Marty's comments as far as it. He hasn't watched it. And to be fair, which I also could have added this in least favorite part of the film, it's very, 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 very heavily influenced by it damn near ripped off of The King of Comedy and Taxi Driver, like very, like a lot. So like, and I think Marty himself has even said like, I've done that. I've been through that. I don't really need to see that, you know. And I get, why would he need to see an iteration of his own work? So I totally get it in that aspect. And obviously, as we know, he's not a fan of the whole comic book thing anyway. So, but no, I think he would agree that this would be cinema. I mean, it's without him, this thing wouldn't have been made. So, you know what I mean? So I think, it's definitely cinema. And for me personally, that's cinema, just solely based on Joaquin's performance and Hildur's score. That is cinema. So we did it. As always, if a movie makes you feel anything at all, that's cinema.
A film that's like
Peace.
a theme park film, for example, the Marvel type pictures, where the theaters become amusement parks. That's a different experience. And it's like, it's not even, I was saying earlier, it's not cinema, it's something else. Not cinema, it's something else. Not cinema, it's something else. Not cinema, it's something else.